Many parents are noticing something that feels confusing and even a little alarming. A teenager can spend 6 hours playing video games, scrolling social media, or watching short videos online without appearing tired or bored. Yet when that same teenager is asked to complete homework, clean their room, apply for a job, or even sit through a class lecture, they say they are exhausted, overwhelmed, or unable to focus. Parents often say something like, if they can focus on gaming for hours, how can they not focus on their responsibilities? The answer lies in something psychologists and neuroscientists are increasingly discussing today. Welcome back to the Path to Peace Therapy podcast. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie Buckley. I'm a solution-focused therapist, parenting strategist, and family systems coach who specializes in ADHD, executive functioning challenges, emotional regulation, and the patterns that keep families stuck in cycles of frustration and avoidance. Solution-focused therapy is a therapeutic approach that focuses on helping families move forward with practical strategies rather than remaining stuck in problem analysis. Instead of asking only why something is happening, we ask what small shifts can help the system move toward stability and progress. Another framework that deeply shapes my work is Bowen Family Systems Theory. Bowen's work emphasizes that individuals are part of an interconnected emotional system called the family. When one person struggles with regulation, motivation, or responsibility, the entire system often adapts around that behavior. For example, when a teenager struggles with motivation, one parent may begin reminding them constantly about homework, chores, or deadlines. Another parent may become increasingly frustrated and try to enforce stricter rules. The teenager may withdraw or avoid responsibilities even more. Bowen theory helps us understand that these patterns are not just individual problems, they are system patterns, and when one piece of the system shifts, the entire family dynamic begins to change. I'm also a mother to a thriving neurodivergent 23-year-old son with ADHD who is an incredible musician, singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist. Supporting him required patience, structure, and a deep understanding of how developing brains respond to challenge and reward. This podcast exists because when my son was younger, I didn't fully understand what was happening neurologically in his brain. And I know many parents listening today are asking the same question. Why does everything feel so hard for my child? Today, we're continuing our series on Gen Z's aversion to friction, and in this episode, we're going to talk about something that may be quietly shaping motivation across an entire generation, the dopamine economy. To understand the dopamine economy, we first need to understand what dopamine actually is. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which means it is a chemical messenger that transmits signals between neurons in the brain. Dopamine plays a major role in motivation, reward anticipation, learning, and goal-directed behavior. Many people refer to dopamine as the brain's pleasure chemical, but neuroscientists often describe it more accurately as the anticipation chemical. Dopamine rises not only when we receive a reward, but also when we expect a reward. For example, imagine a teenager hearing the notification sound of a message on their phone. Even before reading the message, their brain releases dopamine because the brain anticipates something potentially rewarding or interesting. This anticipation drives behavior. It motivates the person to check the phone. The same process occurs in many digital environments. The term dopamine economy refers to the modern digital environment where many platforms compete for human attention by triggering rapid dopamine responses. Social media apps, video games, streaming platforms, and even online shopping platforms are designed around what behavioral scientists call variable reward systems. A variable reward system is a pattern in which rewards appear unpredictably. This unpredictability keeps the brain engaged because the next reward might appear at any moment. For example, When someone scrolls through short videos online, most of the videos may be mildly interesting, but occasionally one video is extremely funny or entertaining. That occasional reward triggers a larger dopamine response, which motivates the brain to keep scrolling. Video games operate on a similar system. Players receive points, achievements, levels, and rewards at unpredictable intervals. This unpredictability keeps the brain engaged for extended periods of time. Parents often see the effects of these systems at home. A teenager may sit down intending to watch one short video and suddenly realize an hour has passed. This is not simply a lack of discipline. These platforms are engineered to capture attention by continuously triggering dopamine responses. In a healthy motivational system, dopamine helps individuals pursue goals that require effort. For example, a student studying for an exam may feel a sense of motivation because they anticipate the reward of good grades or future opportunities. An athlete practicing their sport may feel motivated because they anticipate improvement or competition. However, when the brain receives frequent dopamine spikes without effort, the brain's reward expectations begin to change. Activities that once felt normal, studying, practicing skills, completing chores, now feel unusually slow and unrewarding. Parents often notice this pattern in everyday situations. A teenager may say they cannot focus on homework for more than 10 minutes, but can spend hours gaming without interruption. A young adult may feel exhausted by the process of applying for jobs, but energized when engaging with online entertainment. The difference lies in the effort to reward ratio. Digital platforms often provide high stimulation with very little effort. Real-world achievements require sustained effort before rewards appear. Another concept related to dopamine is boredom intolerance. Boredom intolerance refers to a reduced ability to tolerate periods of low stimulation. In previous generations, boredom was a common experience. Children might spend long afternoons outside, reading books, or inventing games because there were fewer digital distractions available. Today, boredom can be eliminated instantly through phones, games, and streaming content. Parents often see boredom intolerance when teenagers say they feel uncomfortable or restless during quiet moments. A teenager may attempt to complete homework while simultaneously checking their phone every few minutes. A young adult may find it difficult to sit through a long lecture or meeting without checking social media. The brain has become accustomed to constant stimulation. Bowen family systems theory reminds us that these behaviors do not exist in isolation. When a young person becomes deeply engaged in digital stimulation, the family system often adapts around that behavior. Parents may attempt to limit screen time, which can lead to conflict and power struggles. One parent may become more permissive to avoid arguments, while the other becomes stricter. The teenager may then use technology even more as a form of emotional escape. Over time, the family may fall into predictable roles: the enforcer, the negotiator, and the avoider. Understanding these patterns allows families to shift away from constant conflict and towards strategies that gradually rebuild healthy reward systems. The goal is not to eliminate technology completely. Technology is part of modern life. The goal is to help young people rebuild a balanced dopamine cycle where effort and reward are connected again. Parents can begin by introducing activities that require sustained effort before rewards appear. This might include physical exercise, learning musical instruments, part-time employment, or creative projects. For example, a teenager who learns to cook dinner for the family once a week experiences a full cycle of effort, progress, and reward. A young adult who commits to working a job for several months learns persistence and delayed gratification. Over time, these experiences help the brain recalibrate its expectations. The brain begins to relearn an important truth. Meaningful rewards often require sustained effort. This episode is for educational purposes and to provide support. It is not a substitute for professional mental health evaluation, diagnosis, or treatment. The more we learn to recognize the patterns behind behavior, the more compassion and support we can offer to our kids, our partners, and ourselves. If this episode resonated with you and you would like additional support for your family, you can reach out directly by email at stephanieb@thepathotopeacetherapy.com. If you are in California, I offer virtual sessions for families navigating ADHD, executive functioning challenges, anxiety, and family dynamics. You can also learn more about my work at thepathotopeacetherapy.com. And as always, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and remember, peace is possible, and you don't have to do this alone.